Good evening, everybody, and welcome to race weekend number 10 of the Her Beginner Racing Series. Tonight, we have an absolute treat for you with a single lap of the New York Knickerbocker course. It's lovely and not flat, but it has the holy grail of all things cyclists want. There are left-hand turns, right-hand turns, uphills, downhills, no flat whatsoever. It's 22.9 kilometers long. Elevation gain is 366. And we have 30 seconds to go. Tonight, I'll be following Ben Poynton straight out of the Quackers from the New Year's Eve Alp climb. I'm sure we'll touch on that later on when we start talking about PBs. But tonight, as always, I'm joined by Becca Kingdom and Steve Pritchard. Becca, who are you following tonight?
Hi, tonight I am back following Lisa Jones, who is straight off of an Alp TT in the Kookaburras.
And Steve.
I'm following Constantine Klein, who I'm looking forward to seeing how he rides today. We know he's a bit of a diesel, doesn't really have a punch, but Mike and he put out some big watts, so let's see how it goes.
We are off out the gate. Ben is currently holding 600 watts, which I definitely didn't even contemplate trying to do earlier on when I was trying to hold on to the front group. Definitely gone off relatively quickly. I think when Steve and I were racing earlier on today in the 7 o'clock UK time event, I don't know about you, Steve, but I was holding probably 350, 400 out the start, mainly because I was tired and couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, I have no idea what level of watts I was holding, James, because my eyes hurt.
But we still managed to find the front group, certainly a little bit of time. I think we were there for about the first 5 kilometres, which was particularly lovely and painful with many ouchie spikes.
Yeah, it's a similar start to our ride earlier, actually. That kind of most of the people here seem to be holding about 5. If I remember rightly, I was holding about 5 watts a kilogram for about the first minute, and then it did settle down a bit. It is an incredibly painful course tonight, isn't it, James?
It most certainly is, but this has definitely settled down pretty quickly. Ben's still in the front group. Well, when I started talking, he was holding about 250 watts. It's now gone up to 350 as we just have a slight incline, and he's back wheel on the front group. And based on his position in 32nd, must mean there's a front group of 32. But let's just switch over to Becca and see if we can get an update on what's Lisa wearing today.
Lisa has excellently chosen the brand new and wonderful herd kit, and she's paired it with, as proven by science, a pink Tron bike and very nice pink spotty socks to match. So Lisa is looking wonderful tonight and has been holding almost 5 watts a kilo for the last minute and a half to lead her in the front group with Ben.
Good work, Lisa. Steve, is Constantine right up front?
Yeah, he is right up front. He's sat at about 4 watts per kilogram, not in the herd kit, sadly. It will be interesting to know that the rider you're following, Ben, has gone with the green Tron tonight in the name of science. So we'll be able to directly compare the pink Tron and green Tron times up the Alp today. No, not up the Alp, up the climb.
That's a fantastic scientific experiment to make, and I know Becca. Yesterday on the Alp, you actually found that the pink Tron was actually faster than the Tarmac Pro.
I did 2 Alp climbs yesterday.
And what?
Unfortunately, the results of the pink Tron are that the pink Tron is much faster down the hill. As even with my significant weight advantage on James, I went down the hill a good 20-30 seconds faster on the pink Tron than he did on the Tarmac Pro.
Absolutely.
Going up, can't really compare because I was exhausted the second time I went up the Alp.
Exhausted,
So I definitely looked cooler than everybody else.
Exhausted with a heart rate of about 140.
I mean, I hear James did a PB, which would suggest that the proximity to the pink Tron would have helped him.
I don't know where you would have heard about my amazing PB. I can't even recall the time being 56 minutes and 27 seconds.
Quite frankly, I could only see James on a pink Tron, as mine hadn't actually updated to the bike that he was riding, and therefore I think that he was actually on a pink Tron, and therefore that contributed massively to his 56 minutes. And I'm still annoyed he outsprinted me on the line.
So, folks, let's talk a bit about tonight's course. There's just no flat, is there? There is literally no way you can have a rest.
There's left, right, up and down.
Yeah, I don't know about you, James. I arrived about here hoping to settle down. It's into that nice bit of the race where you can kind of ease off the power a bit and kind of sit in the bunch and try and recover what you've spent at the start. But on New Yorkers, just to climb, every time you turn left, it seems like the hill goes up. And every time you turn right, it seems like the hill also goes up, or the road also goes up. So it's just a terrible, terrible course, and I hate you for choosing it.
I'm confident in saying there is definitely more up than down throughout the course of a lap. I think you definitely do about 200 meters more climbing when you actually do descending, which obviously violates the laws of physics, but that's certainly how it felt. I think we've probably got about 5 kilometers now until we actually start the New York KOM. We'll be doing it either forwards or reverse. I can't actually remember which way round it's actually called, but it's certainly the one that's shorter with the steeper gradients. We're just at the very, very, very northwest end of the course now. Ben is still just hanging in there.
This was quite a decisive moment in our race earlier, James.
Yeah.
This little kicker here. This is where we both got dropped from the lead group because there's a sudden 10% section. It's really hard. You've been riding hard for 5 minutes. It was really hard, and I was trying not to be sick from all of the port and cheese from last night's celebrations. Constantine's just about hanging on to the back of this group. How are your riders doing?
Ben's just dropped off, and I recall from when we were doing this earlier, there were splits all over the place, and basically 3 groups formed, or if not 4, out of the front group. Becca, how's Lisa doing?
Unfortunately, she's a few places just behind Ben. She got dropped off just at the point where you guys got dropped off earlier. So this is where it really, really did turn from one front group into a really long line and lots of different ones. And Lisa has unfortunately been left by herself. So hopefully she will be able to meet up with some other people soon enough, or otherwise she's going to be doing an ITT for a little while.
Yeah, and I think from my experience, I mean, granted, I went a little bit solo on the climb, but fairly quickly found other groups afterwards. So I'd certainly hope that Lisa will find some people before too long. But there seems to be like a bunch of people about 3 seconds behind her, so I think she'll probably have company before too long. Steve, is Constantine still at the front, or is that?
No, he's 2 seconds off the back of this group. It's fascinating. If they sit up a little, I mean, Constantine's a really powerful TT rider. You can tell that by the kind of watts he puts out and how consistent he is. I think if he settles into a rhythm and the front group sit up a bit, he might catch back up to them. But as it is, they're disappearing off into the distance. This is the point in the race where you've really got to try and find or hope that there's a group nearby, don't you? So you can use the well-known bunch draft effect in Zwift. To help you catch the riders in front of you, if at all. So yeah, how are Lisa and Ben doing?
So Ben's pretty much where we were earlier on. He's currently starting 27th out of 142. I think we were sort of 25, 26 out of 135 earlier on. So very similar. He's got a group of, I think, probably 7 or 8 riders. They're all single file at the moment, which is a little bit surprising since we're going downhill. But Ben's going to have to have a little bit of a kick to try and get back on, which hopefully he'll be able to do. You can see Cy Seymour's in this group as well from the Hogs. Sam Reganini's in there also. Tim Watkins, but looks like Ben might just be falling off the back. He's still putting out fairly big numbers, but he's going to have to push quite hard to get back onto this, and he's pushing the 400s. So hopefully he can do 500s now. He's definitely having a good go to get back on, and I think, yep, he's just closing the gap in again. So back onto this group. Hopefully he's still a couple of meters behind, but looks like he's going to pull back onto Tim's wheel, and we've just got a little downhill coming up. So hopefully that'll just reel him back in. But not too far now to the first KOM in about 3 kilometers time. Becca, how's Lisa getting on?
She's had a little bit of a rest. She did 2 to 3 for a little while. She's still by herself, unfortunately. The group behind her seemed to be about 20 seconds behind, and the group in front seemed to be about 20 seconds ahead. So, unfortunately, until we get to the climb, which she will be good at, she might actually be riding by herself.
She could well catch up with, I think you'd expect her to catch up with Ben on the hill, unless Ben's got a superhuman effort in him. So, but they could even well go down the hill together, and wouldn't that be lovely? Steve, up front, please.
So yeah, Constantine's just been caught by somebody who's on a TT bike, doing 5.3 watts per kilogram very consistently, which well, yeah, it's very consistent. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, so he's in 21st now. He's 13 seconds. I think the front group have gone really. He may catch some people on the climb. I'm quite excited to watch him to climb it actually, because he is quite a strong TT rider. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. But yeah, kind of floating a bit in no man's land. Should we talk a bit about the climb? It is a brute, and like all the New York Com angles, you have to do like what feels like about a third of the climb before you actually get to the Com line, which is always marginally depressing. But it does have this the feature of New York, which is you alternate between about 14% and then 0. So you seem to go up kind of in ramps, don't you, on this one?
Yeah, you do, I think it peaks at around about 18%, so it's pretty nasty. It's sort of Bologna-esque, really. Um, the the other way round, which I think is reverse, I think this one's forward. The other way round's a little bit nicer in that you have like a little ramp and then a little bit flat and then a little ramp, and whereas this one's a bit more climby, definitely sharper gradients, and the final stretch, it makes you think that you're actually going to have a bit of a coast towards a banner, but then you actually see the banners at the top of a really hideous ramp, which always makes that last bit particularly nasty. But we should see it in about kilometre and a half's time, I think. Ben is still with this group. With Tim, Cy Seymour, Sam, and a couple of other people who I don't know. But they're not too far away now. So I imagine Constantine's getting pretty close as well.
Yeah, we're just going through the sprint banner, which marks the two left turns before we go onto the glass, and that's when the climb starts. How's Lisa doing?
Just to jump in. Very sorry, Becca. Ben's just going through the sprint banner now, so they could potentially catch Constantine just before the bottom of the climb, but we'll see how that one pans out. Becca, is Lisa still on her own?
She got caught up by a Japanese rider who's just got initials of AM, and she managed to jump on the back for a little while, although that rider has just put in a 5 watt kilo spurt and dropped Lisa. So she is unfortunately, as she just goes over the sprint point, back to being by herself. But I should think she will pick up some riders when she gets to the climb, because she is a very good climber.
Just want to touch on a couple of riders we've seen sending messages mid-race. Certainly not something I've ever been able to do. Steve and Becca, how about you two? Are you able to type whilst you're putting in a big effort?
Not when I'm putting a big effort in, but I mean, those who've done TTTs with me will know that I'm quite often just hiding in the back and not really doing any big efforts on the front. So I'm quite good at telling people to drop when they hang out in our teams. But no, Mike Bowser's a big one for this, isn't he?
Yeah, he likes his chat. Becca, I know that when we've done TTTs together, you've managed to somehow find the energy to send a couple of messages.
I mounted an old iPhone using a Garmin mount onto the front of my bike, which makes it very, very easy to text and also try at the same time. And I find that if I'm looking at something else rather than the screen, I can stop thinking about how much my legs hurt. So yeah, my role in the TTTs is often to tell people to bugger off.
Good call. I use a tablet for the companion app, and which, because of the size of the screen, it makes it, in my mind, harder to type on than a phone. But I like the fact I've got the map nice and big. But just back to Ben. We've done the first pretend bit of a climb. We're now just going over the KOM start banner. So here we go, 15%. Lovely.
Now, I've actually done a bit of experimenting on this climb, and I think it's genuinely quicker to sprint on the red sections and then try and settle down as close to your TT pace as you can for the rest of it, because you gain meters on people really easily. And this was something I used to quite good effect actually in the ZRL route that did lots of New York climbing. So that's why I'd be advising people at the moment, try and settle on these kind of lower percentages, and then whenever you hit one of these ramps, just get out the wheel, get out the saddle, push down on the pedals, and just really put a big effort in whenever you hit that kind of 10 to 13%. But it is tough to do.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we're definitely going to go to the climbing expert in a second, but from my point of view, I did the whole thing in the same gear, so it meant I was doing probably threshold on the lower gradients, and way into VO2 on the harder ones. So you can see Ben's just cresting the 10% section. It's going to flatten out a bit. So just here, I would keep in the same gear and then just spin really quickly to try and keep myself around about sort of threshold FTP. Ben is currently holding 280s, and I think his FTP is probably around about 300. It might be a bit higher, but it looks like he's probably doing something fairly similar. But climbing expert Becca Kingdom, do you on a hill like this where it's not all climbing, would you just stay in the same gear, do a mini recovery on the flatter bits, and then push really hard on the steep bits?
I can't actually remember the last time I did this because I hate New York on Zwift. But to be honest, I speed up on the flatter bits because as a lightweight rider, you will then carry that speed into the steeper bits and you will knock time off of your PB. So I would probably do the exact opposite to what Steve does. But, you know, what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Steve's sprinting approach on hills just sounds a bit ridiculous, and I'm not even remotely inclined to try. But he swears by it. So, and you know, he's one of the two scientists out of our group of three. So, who am I to argue?
It is a difficult one, and it's one of those things I think comes down to actually remembering that Zwift is a game, and there's times where you have to do the things which you know work well in the game. And I think that, I mean, again, it'd be great to test this when Becca gets her drill reattached to her bike, and we can put a load of preset watts in. How are the riders doing? Constantine's just on one of those 15% vids, and this is the bit kind of near the top. There's a flat bit come to recovery, but it just really starts to hurt at this point. As he's coming up to the crest, kind of near Samrajoni and Philippe Alberto from the herd. So maybe they'll blob up on the descent. We'll see. How about Ben? I can see Ben's 20 seconds back.
Yeah, Ben's just about to hit the flat bit before the bit where you think, it's over. And then you level out for a while. So we're just going to go round. It'll flatten out. We'll go around the last corner, and then it'll still be flat on the last straight. And if you haven't done it before, you think, okay, it's just going to be flat until the banner, and then suddenly there's a ramp from hell just waiting for you to the end, and you just have to give everything over that. And then you go for the banner, and then everything's downhill, and the world's a happier place once again. But Ben's just crested that ramp we were just talking about. It's just got the corner to go, and then he'll have the little ramp towards the end. Becca, whereabouts is Lisa?
I don't know in relation to the finish because I don't actually know anything about this climb other than when I watched you guys do it earlier. But she's on a 16% bit currently, putting out 4 watts per kilo. She's got a few riders just ahead of her and a few riders just behind. So either way, hopefully she'll have someone to go down the hill with. But I think she's just cresting the little bit of the hill before you flattens out and before the steep bit at the end. But
Yeah,
I want to be 100% about that.
Yep, it looks like it. She's just going over the nasty bit, and then she's only got one nasty bit to go, which Ben is just hitting now. Steve, has Constantine gone through the banner yet?
Literally, just as you came to me, he's gone through the banner. He's got that group 4 seconds ahead. He really needs to put an effort in on this descent to try and get to those riders ahead and sit in their blob to get those positions at the moment. So if he's got anything in the tank, now's the time to do a bit of an attack if you can on the descent here. Ben must be pretty close to the banner now.
Yeah, he's just coming over the top of the ramp, and then he will be at the banner before, the next sort of 10-15 seconds. And we'll have to see if Ben can use his gravitational bonus to his advantage. He's just thrown down the aero power up to get as much speed before we hit the downhill as possible, which is a very, very sensible tactic. Currently in 27th place. He's got a few riders, 2 riders 3 seconds in front. Given an awful stereotype, but one of them's Japanese, so he's probably quite light. So I think Ben's got a decent chance to get back on. Becca, is Lisa over the top?
No, she's just coming up the final bit towards the finish line now. She's putting out a good 4 watts kilo, but I think she might be a little bit tired. She's lost the wheel of the people that she's with, unfortunately, but I think there's a couple coming up behind her who are herd riders, and I think her bottom's slightly heavier, so hopefully she can attach herself to those when she's going downhill to get to the track. She's got maybe 100 metres before she gets to and she'll be very, very relieved to do that and have that horrible time over and done with.
Yeah, I remember descending this earlier and Becca giving me the pep talk, which was, at least you're not still climbing, which at the time, as I see riders still going in the other direction past Constantine, I am reassured by. It's an interesting descent though, isn't it? Because you can't super tuck the whole way down. So if you've got a bit of course knowledge and you know which points to do a bit of a sprint in, that will be the fastest way to descend. If you've got anything left in the legs after that climbing effort. So yeah, worth looking at, see if people put those little digs in on the flatter sections and then go back into the super tuck quickly.
Personally, I didn't super tuck it at all, just because there are flat sections, and I personally find it difficult after super tucking to get back into a rhythm again afterwards. I'm sure super tucking is actually the faster the faster way to do it, but I just tend to find that I don't necessarily see when I need to start pedaling again straight away, so I just pedal down the whole thing. If it's like a sheer drop like the Alp, then absolutely air attack the whole way. But on descents like you have in New York, I tend to pedal. Becca, absolutely air attack the whole way.
Lisa's just gone downhill. She's with a couple of other herd people, De Silva and Alan Cheryl. She's choosing not to super tuck again, so yeah, I probably would, because I like to be as lazy as possible. Oh no, now she's gone into a super tuck. Yeah, good decision, Lisa.
Steve, how's Constantine getting on?
Well, he's in fully in TT mode now. I think he's just reached the bottom of the climb, sat at about 3.8 watts, 3.6 watts per kilo, pretty steady, sort of 260 watts. I'm guessing for him. There is a bunch behind him which contains your rider Ben, Simon S from the herd, Tim Watkins from the herd as well. So they could well catch him before the end this week, which was very exciting.
I think on YouTube there's been a couple of complaints. Apparently people can't hear Becca, and apparently there's music playing, which Craig wasn't aware of, so we don't know where it's coming from. Apparently people can't hear Becca, and apparently there's music playing, which Craig I've just double checked my volume here, and it's not coming from me. Steve, are you playing music?
No, I'm not. I'm wondering if it's the usual sick beats you like to drop when streaming your own rides, James. Or,
Speaking of sick beats, I think we need to quickly refer to the dubstep noises that your own trainer seems to make, because there's a little bit of wob 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 earlier on, and occasional pig noises, which we weren't entirely certain what was happening there.
I'm not entirely sure. This is some excess noise in the internet on pig noises, but my trainer has started developing another strange rubber noise at the moment, which is a bit worrying that it's going to die mid-ride, probably going to die mid-April, just after the warranty period finishes. So if anyone from Tax / Garmin is listening to this, and I'm sure they all are, if they could send me a replacement trainer, I'd be most appreciative.
I mean, to be honest, the wob 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 was only really happening whenever you hit a 10% hill, so I pretty much knew exactly where you were on the course whenever it started happening, which was very helpful. However, back to the race, and Ben Poynton is at 14 kilometres now. He's settled into a group of 5 riders here. So Seymour's in there as well, and Tim Watkins is also there. So pretty much the people who went up the hill at the same time are still back together again. They caught the Japanese rider as well going down the hill, as well as Jay Chandler, whose name I'm afraid I do not know. First name I don't know. But we're at about 8 kilometres to go. There are some lovely ramps still to come, because New York is more uphill than downhill, including a couple of lovely 10% sections, which we all love dearly, especially me and Steve, who did it earlier. Becca, how's Lisa getting on?
Is there any point in me actually talking, or am I just sort of,
No. We can.
Absolutely no reason.
We can hear you again, apparently. Well, I can hear you, and so can our loving audience. And Courtney says it's perfect, so it must be.
Excellent.
Craig said he thinks he fixed it, and he actually did. So new PB for Craig tonight.
Excellent. I love that we're now on week 9, and we
10.
still haven't managed to do. Well, even better. We still haven't actually managed to do an entire show. So anyway, Lisa is at 13.9 kilometers. She's with 2 other herd riders, and yeah, she's in 38th place, and I guess this will be her group until the finish. Although there are a couple of stragglers just in front of her who are by themselves, which they are probably likely to pick up on the way. How is everyone else getting on?
Oh, actually, we've had a request from YouTube for Becca to give us in-depth insight on Lisa. Andrew wants you to tell her about Lisa.
What does she want to know about Lisa?
I've
I
absolutely
don't know
no
enough
idea.
about Lisa to be able
Can we
to
just
do this.
can we reel off facts about Lisa? I mean, obviously she's based in Guam. She's the best dressed member of the herd. She's always on point, matching outfits and bikes, and doing random rides to get new kits that look amazing. Climbs incredibly well. Any other good facts we've got?
That's basically all I know.
She loves riding with the Kookaburras in Zone 2 on Thursday mornings.
Oh yeah, of course. Organises our Teen Time Trials. So yeah, great. Thanks to Lisa for taking on that every week. Really appreciate that. While we're on kits, James, could you fill us in on the herd kit that's appeared in game recently?
It is a thing of absolute beauty, and I personally believe that it works very, very well for Pinktron. I know there are some very strange people, Ben Poynton included, who seem to think that the Greentron with the herd kit is faster. Obviously, they're wrong. But the Pinktron with the herd kit works exceptionally well, as proven by Becca going down the Alp the other day. And I think the level of detail on it is absolutely fantastic, and Corey Chestnut's done a brilliant job. It may have taken a year for it to arrive, but we're very, very grateful that it has done. And if you haven't got the herd kit yet, go and join a herd social ride. You will get it at the end of a ride, and then you can wear it with pride and joy in all of our races.
And I mean, just to be clear, that was it took Swift a year to get it into the game. Corey's had the design in with them for a while, hasn't she?
Since last January, I think. It's been quite a while coming, but we're all very, very grateful that it finally has done.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and yeah, big thanks to Corey and everyone who's been able to get it in game. And like you say, sign up to one of the herd social rides. You can cheat a little bit, which is what I did this week, and just cycled out the pen and then left my computer on while the 60-minute timer ended, and that got me the jersey because some of us had to work this week, which just sucked. How are we doing riding wise? Constantine's was with Sam Rajoni, also from the herd. They're kind of attacking each other on the really difficult bits, which probably racing wise is the best idea, but it's just a really, really silly idea, isn't it? Because it's really hard and it hurts. So they're basically punching each other in the face while simultaneously kneeing each other in the testicles and seeing who gets bored first, I think. What about Ben?
I was just going to say that's actually really impressive activity to be doing whilst holding 3 to 4 watts a kilo on a Zwift bike. I don't really feel like it's something I'm going to be trying in the future unless you're right next to me, in which case I'll just drop a quick elbow and I hope it puts you off. But Ben's doing well. He is 25 seconds between Constantine and Sam Reginini group. A little bit further up the road. He's in a group of, well, he's actually gone batshit crazy up the hill. He's on a 5% hill at the moment, trying to drop the people behind him. He's got AM out of Japan behind with Cy Seymour comes back. But I think Ben's staking his claim for 25th place. And he's just hitting the downhill. So we're back up again in the very northwest end of the course. And we'll go downhill, and then there's a 10% ramp. And then we'll go back down south again before we do a quick loop before the finish line. So we've got about 5 kilometers to go. Becca, how's Lisa getting on?
Yeah, she's still in the same group of 5, which also includes Alan Chevel from Herd. They also seem to be attacking each other as soon as it goes above about 3%. But they are all sticking together. They're just about to pick up 2 riders, KH and K Lash, who are just ahead of them. And yeah, I guess they'll keep on attacking each other as soon as the hills appear until we get to the line.
Yeah, that
It,
that was pretty much
well,
my experience. Sorry, Steve. That's pretty much my experience from earlier. Would be like having a positively lovely time holding about 3.2 on the flat bits. As soon as there's a hill, everyone's like, yeah, let's do 4 watts per kilo. That'll be loads of fun. And that pretty much happened for pretty much the second half of the race after we'd done the KOM. Steve, sorry, what were you saying?
Well, it looks like Sam and Constantine are trying to work together to keep Simon and Ben's group away. So it's a bit of a 2-up time trial versus what looks like 4 or 5 in that group. At a time trial, having Sam's just put a bit of a gap into Constantine at the moment, but I'm sure I'll catch him up over the crest. Yeah, it does become a bit like mutually assured destruction at this point, doesn't it? Every time you see a ramp, you think, I'd better go a bit quicker because everyone went up that really quickly last time. And then everyone's thinking that, so you just all end up going up the ramps really quickly. And I'm sure if kind of everyone just stepped away from the pedals slightly and decided it would be a sprint, it would be a much lovelier experience, wouldn't it?
It's always a bit nicer when it's a little. I mean, the thing is, though, I hate flat courses. I hate rolling courses. I've actually turned into one of those really, really annoying people that actually likes it when it's always going upwards.
Join us, James. Join us.
Yeah, it's much more fun, James. This is what we need, is more courses that end at the top of a hill.
Although, for those of us who did the TTT yesterday, I would be a big fan of the reverse Alp TT because I could just. Most of us had got off the bikes and were drinking beers by that point. And the Quackers put a great time down there. They put at least 40 seconds into the cookers yesterday. So yeah, the downhill TTT could be a new event we could put on.
Speaking of new events, actually, so when I'm setting up events on Zwift, I have the option of doing laps, distance, or time. I really, 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 really want to set up a 30-minute race with the Alp route. So whoever is at the front after 30 minutes wins the race. I've never tried one. I don't know how well it would work and how accurately the data would get reported back to places like Zwift Power. But I think it would be a little bit of good fun. And you couldn't do it on a flat race because it'll be just grouping the whole way around. But on something like the Alp, what do you reckon?
This sounds fantastic. You should definitely do this.
But you think everything sounds fantastic if there's a big hill involved.
I love the Alp. The Alp is wonderful.
I think I'd
We
actually.
need some more points in this series.
I think racing-wise, I'd want to do it on Von Top because it's a more steady gradient. But I think entertainment-wise and having fun, the Alp would be great for that.
Yeah, and I think with the then top route, it's probably actually better just because you go straight into climbing, whereas with the Alp, you start around the jungle, so it takes you 7-8 minutes to actually get to the climb. So, yeah, 30 minutes climbing, whoever's at the front wins. I think it's a brilliant idea, and Bowser obviously disagrees.
I can see, I think Lisa's just been dropped to Becca. What's happening?
Yeah, unfortunately, she has been dropped over the rollers, I think, from her group. So she is now, unfortunately, back by herself, and with only 3 and a bit kilometers to go, she can probably hold off the group behind her, which are 40 seconds back, although there is an individual 13 seconds back. But it looks like she's now got an individual time trial to the end for 39th place.
Yeah, Ben's still in the group with Sai, Jay Chandler. I think we've lost Tim. Tim's way back now. We're in the bottom loopy bit with about 2.5k to go. So expect it to be a sprint finish between these 3 guys. So trying to see who's the closest. It's very hard to tell at this point of the course, just because there are riders going both directions. But it looks like the Japanese rider's got about a 20-second lead at the moment. He's currently holding 4.5 to 5 watts a kilo. And just behind these three, the nearest is around about 20-30 seconds back. So it looks like it's going to be a sprint finish between these three. How's Constantine getting on?
He's doing well. Him and Sam are playing nicely with each other, continuing to bit of a punch over each one of the little rollers. We've got about a K&a-half to go. Uphill sprint today, isn't it? And kind of you typically say go later on an uphill sprint in real bike racing. Do you think that's any different on Zwift?
I have no concept of what real racing is, to be honest. So I'm going to hand over to someone who knows a little bit more than me, Becca.
Hey, don't look at me. I've done TTs. There is no crit racing in my life. So, yeah, I can't help with this. I think you are supposed to go a bit later.
What's your experience on Zwift, folks? Then, kind of, as you've got an uphill climb, it's going to take you a bit longer to cover the distance, so you might not be able to hold that maximum sprint power for quite as long.
I went too late today. I think I probably went with maybe 200 meters to go. By which stage there's already like a 5 to 10 second gap. 5 to 10 meter gap in front of me. So I think with this finish, as soon as the gradient starts to lift, you have to go, and you have to go really, really hard for as long as you possibly can do. Realistically, it's probably, I guess, a 20-second sprint, which is in the longer end of things. But we are not far away. We've got about a kilometre to go, I think. And Ben has got 2 left-hand turns to go, and after the second left-hand turn, it'll flatten briefly and then go hard.
Constantine and Sam are just heading into about the last 500 meters, so they're just on the left bend that goes down, and now about to hit the climb back towards the pens, which is where the banner is. They're both ridiculous watts. They're both at about 6.5 watts per kilogram at the moment, which is not quite sprinting yet. Now, Constantine's just hit 8. Sam's still at Constantine's 9. Sam's still at about 6. I think Constantine's got this if he can maintain that power. They're both hitting 9 watts a kilogram now. Sam's only 5 meters behind Constantine. It's really close as they get to the banner now, and Constantine takes it. Great ride for, I think that was 24th.
Good work, Constantine. And back with Ben, we are just about to take the last left-hand turn. There are calls on YouTube from Mr. Bowser that he thinks Cy Seymour's got this in the bag. We are just about to hit the hill in the next 5 seconds. Just gradient's just starting to lift. And see the power numbers start to pick up. Ben's gone really, really early, 800 watts. He's going to have to hold it for as long as he possibly can. We can see Cy Seymour behind, 14 watts a kilo, massive numbers. And Cy Seymour's got it. Ben's going to come in third place out of this group. Valiant effort, finishing in 28th place. Quickly back to Lisa.
Yeah, so Lisa's been joined by someone from behind her, C. Guerrero, who I don't know. There's American flag, no herd tag, so no idea. But so she's no longer by herself. She put in a good effort to catch him up, although he does seem to be riding away at 4 watts a kilo. I think she was feeling a little bit lonely because she's been riding around by herself for a while, so she did have time to type and say that we should play the All By Myself song for her. So yeah, she's at 22 kilometers, so I think she's got 600 meters left to go. She's just about to take, I think, the last left-hand bend before she goes on to the final thing, but she's going to roll in 40th place. She's done fantastic effort out of 142. Yeah, the group behind her looks 37-ish seconds behind, although I can't really tell because people appear to be going the other way as well as this way. But yeah, she's putting out 3 watts a kilo, 4 watts a kilo now, just as she's got maybe 200 meters left, so she's just about to go over the finish line in maybe 20 seconds. But yeah, still 40th place, and yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Becca. And Well done, Lisa. Just see Lisa just approaching the banner now, and big thanks to Constantine and Ben for being our other featured riders today. As ever, big thanks to Stephen Becker for keeping me company, and Craig for giving us our pictures tonight. And big thanks to the YouTube audience as well, keeping us great company as ever. But thank you very much, everyone. And just before we go, we will quickly check to see what delights we have to come up next week. It is. Oh, Becky, you'll like this. It's London Loop, a single lap. Box
Is this
Hill.
the one we did Stampede on?
It is the one we did Stampede on. So it's basically London Loop, the Stampede, but with draft.
I preferred it without draft, but I will enjoy next week.
I think you'll actually prefer this with draft because there's not going to be that much draft going up the hill.
I won the Stampede. I would like no draft.
Okay.
Time draft.
So next week we have London Loop for HBR. We have 6 laps of Seaside Sprint with a bullseye, our points race, and we have a single lap of Sand and Sequoias for the ITT. So if you're able to join us on any of those races, please do, and we hope you have a lot of fun. But from all of us tonight, thank you very much for your company, and we will see you very soon.